Okay, so we're diving into something a lot of you have probably thought about. How do romantic relationships and academics mix?
Yeah, it's a question almost every student thinks about at some point.
Yeah.
Does being in a relationship help or hurt you when it comes to studying?
Yeah, like, are you doomed to be distracted, or can love actually give you a boost?
Right. It's a really fascinating question, and honestly, there's no simple answer.
That's why we're doing a deep dive,
Right.
right?
Exactly. We're going to be looking at some real-life stories from other students and some actual research on the topic.
Oh, and we even got some expert advice from a psychologist who specializes in adolescent development.
It's going to be interesting. So are you ready to dive in?
Absolutely. Let's start with the idea that relationships are distractions, because I think that's what a lot of people think right off the bat.
For sure.
Hmm.
Especially when you're first starting a relationship. It takes up so much time and energy.
Oh, yeah. You want to be with your partner all the time. Go on dates, talk for hours, and next thing you know, it's 2 a.m. and you have an essay due tomorrow.
Uh-huh. I think we've all been there. The excitement of a new relationship can be all-consuming.
Yeah, and that's how procrastination sneaks up on you.
Exactly. There's this study from UC Berkeley that found students in romantic relationships were way more likely to put off their work, especially if they felt like the relationship was super rewarding.
So it's not just about time management then, it's also about how our brains prioritize rewards.
Totally. Our brain's reward system goes crazy when we're with someone we love. Like it releases dopamine, which makes us feel amazing.
Right, makes sense.
But here's the thing, that same reward system gets activated when we achieve things. Like when we finish a tough assignment.
So it's like we're competing with our own brains.
Yeah, kinda. And if spending time with your partner feels more rewarding than studying, well, procrastination wins.
This makes so much sense. But wait a minute. Haven't there been studies that show relationships can actually make your grades better?
Oh yeah, definitely. And that's what makes this whole topic so interesting. While some people struggle with the distractions, others find that a good relationship gives them incredible emotional support.
And that helps them academically?
Exactly.
Okay, I need you to break this down for me. How does emotional support lead to better grades?
Well, think about it. When you're super stressed or feeling overwhelmed, having a supportive partner to talk to can really calm you down.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like even a quick chat with someone you care about can lower your cortisol levels. That's the stress hormone.
So basically, a partner can act like a buffer against stress.
Exactly. And less stress means you can focus better.
Right. But it's got to be more than just stress, though, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Hmm.
A supportive partner can actually encourage good study habits. Like they might help you stay organized or stick to a schedule or even quiz you before a test.
It's like having a built-in study buddy and cheerleader all in one.
Uh-huh, exactly. And some couples even become learning partners, especially if they have similar interests. They study together, brainstorm ideas, and even tutor each other.
So on one hand, we've got potential distractions, and on the other, this incredible support system. It seems like the impact of a relationship on your schoolwork really depends on the person.
You got it. The real question is, what makes the difference? What factors determine whether a relationship will help or hurt your academic journey?
And how can students tip the scales in their favor?
Yeah.
I guess that's what we'll explore next.
For sure.
Okay.
Let's hear some stories from other students who have been through this and see what we can learn.
Sounds good. Let's do it. All right,
Yeah.
so we talked about like all the good and bad stuff about relations in college, but I'm really curious to see how this plays out in the real world. What do other students' experiences tell us?
Yeah, that's where it gets really interesting. We actually reached out to some students and got some amazing stories.
Yeah.
One student, let's call her Sarah, told us how her relationship actually helped her get better grades.
Really? How did that happen?
Well, Sarah was having a tough time with procrastination and managing her time. Like she always waited until the last minute to do her assignments and felt super overwhelmed.
I can totally relate to that.
Then she started dating this guy who was super organized and disciplined. He helped her make a study schedule and like kept her accountable.
Yeah.
Even planned little study dates at the library to keep her motivated.
Wow. So he basically became her accountability partner. That's so smart.
Yeah, it was super helpful.
Yeah.
Sarah said it wasn't just the practical stuff either. Like having someone who believed in her and cheered her on made a huge difference in how motivated and confident she felt.
That's amazing. It really shows the power of emotional support. But I'm guessing not all the stories are that positive.
Yeah, unfortunately not. We also talked to a student, let's call him David, who was kind of the opposite experience. He was actually doing really well in school until he started dating someone who was really demanding of his time and attention.
Oh, I think I know where this is going.
Yep, David started skipping classes to hang out with his girlfriend. his grades took a nosedive, and he ended up feeling super stressed and resentful.
That's rough. It's a perfect example of what happens when a relationship takes over your life and you don't set any boundaries.
You're right. And that brings us to a really important point. Communication is key. Like, the students who managed to have both a good relationship and good grades were the ones who talked openly about their goals, their needs, and what was bugging them.
So it's more than just saying, hey, I need to study tonight. It's about having a deeper conversation about what you both expect and where those boundaries are.
Exactly. You got to be proactive and talk about potential problems before they blow up. Like, you could say to your partner, hey, I'm feeling kind of swamped with the schoolwork right now. Can we talk about how we can support each other?
That's a great way to put it. It opens up a conversation where you can both share your needs and try to find a compromise.
And remember, compromise goes both ways. It's not just the student demanding study time. It's also the partner being understanding and supportive.
It sounds like finding that balance is a constant thing. You have to keep checking in with yourself and your partner to make sure the relationship is helping both of you, not dragging one person down.
Exactly. Which reminds me of something the psychologist we talked to said. They really emphasized how important emotional intelligence is when you're trying to balance a relationship in school.
Emotional intelligence, what does that mean in this context?
It means being aware of your own feelings and your partner's feelings, being able to control your emotions, communicate clearly, and understand your partner's point of view.
So, like, if you're freaking out about an exam instead of snapping at your partner, you might say something like, hey, I'm really stressed right now. Can I have some space to study?
Exactly. And on the other side, if your partner feels ignored because you're always studying, you need to acknowledge their feelings and find a way to reconnect, even if it's just for a few minutes.
It sounds like emotional intelligence helps prevent those little misunderstandings from turning into huge fights.
For sure. And here's something super interesting. Studies have actually found that people with higher emotional intelligence tend to do better in school.
Really? That's so cool. Why is that?
Well, people who are emotionally intelligent are better at handling stress, staying motivated, and building good relationships. All of those things help you succeed academically.
So it's like this positive feedback loop. The more you work on your emotional intelligence, the better you handle relationships in school.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important for students to focus on developing their emotional intelligence, not just for their own well-being, but also for their academic success.
This is all really great advice, but for those students who are feeling lost or unsure about how to actually use this stuff, what can they do right now? Like, what are some concrete steps?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Let's break it down into something actionable.
Yeah.
Well, first off, you got to take a good look at yourself.
Yeah.
Be honest about your relationship. Are things good? Are they helping you reach your goals? Do you feel like there's a balance between your love life and your studies?
Yeah. No sugarcoating allowed.
Exactly. Honesty is key. Once you have a clear idea of what's working and what's not, you can start making changes. Like, maybe you need to sit down with your partner and talk about setting some boundaries. Or maybe you need to find ways to support each other's school stuff better.
And if this conversation seems scary, just remember what we talked about earlier. Communicate in a positive way, focus on finding solutions, and really try to see things from your partner's perspective.
Right on. And don't be afraid to ask for help if you need it. Talking to a friend or family member or even a therapist can give you some really helpful advice and support.
Yeah, sometimes it helps to have someone outside the situation give you their thoughts.
For sure. And remember, college isn't just about getting by. It's about making the most of it.
Yeah.
A healthy relationship can make your life so much better, and that includes your academic life.
So it's all about finding that balance where love and learning actually help each other out.
You got it.
Yeah.
And when you find that sweet spot, it's amazing. You can do well in school, build a strong and loving relationship, and learn skills that will help you long after college is over.
This deep dive has been so insightful. I feel like we've learned so much about the connection between love and learning. But as we wrap things up, I want to leave everyone with one last thought. Remember that you have the power to shape your relationships and your academic journey. It's all about making smart choices, communicating clearly, and putting your well-being first.
And never forget the importance of self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and being willing to ask for help when you need it.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you learned something valuable about how love and learning can work together. Sometimes it's complicated, but it can also be amazing.
Absolutely. Until next time, keep learning, keep loving, and keep growing.